Big Lebowski coming back at you again. Today I'm going to be doing a video on the basics of pistol and revolver cleaning. Let's get started. So your main objective essentially when cleaning any firearm is you want to give it the white glove treatment, okay? So you want to spray it down, you want to clean all the black grime, all the carbon residue that has accumulated from shooting the gun. You want to clean that all out until you can take a Q-tip and go in every crevice and every surface on that gun and say, hey, it's white, it's clean. That is your main objective when cleaning any firearm. Because if any black carbon residue is left in the firearm, it can cause problems in the future. And of course, it just doesn't look nice. Okay, so you're going to clean your firearm. There are a few things you're going to need to get that job done. What you see here on this table are essential things you're going to need to clean your firearm, okay? The number one most essential thing you're going to need is a gun cleaning solvent, like these two here. That's going to pick up all the caked on dirt, grease, grime, and that's going to lift it, and it's going to allow you to scrub it off, okay? Now, the second most important thing you're going to need the brushes, okay? This is going to brush off all that dirt and grime. Now, you got an old toothbrush, a plastic spiral brush. Those two are your basic brushes. You also have a spiral copper brush. They make them in all different sizes, 22, 30, 9mm, 40, 45. They make them in all different sizes. So you can get any brush for any gun, and that'll clean your bore. But I also use the copper brushes to clean my stainless steel. Because when you shoot stainless steel, the black carbon can really cake on there and stain, and you need your brass or your copper brushes to get that stain off. Now, your last type of brush I'm going to show you here is your bore snake, okay? This is a long rope, okay? And it has two sets of copper brushes attached to it. Now, as you feed the rope through your barrel, the copper brushes here are going to catch any dirt, grime, lead, and it's going to take it with it. And your thick piece of rope here is going to cling. It's going to cling to that barrel and clean out any debris, any old grease, anything. It cleans your barrel with one fluid motion. So these are really sweet. Now, the next most important thing you're going to need is your patches. These are your bore patches, okay? If you're not using a bore snake and you're just using your brushes, you're going to need these patches. Because what you do is you take the brush and you run it down your barrel, and then afterwards you would attach your patch holder, and you would put a patch through this hole here, and you would run it through your barrel, and that would pick up any old grease, any old grime. Because you want to make sure you're cleaning your barrel after you run your brush through it. This doesn't clean it, this just picks up all the dirt and loosens the dirt, okay? Now, you see a screwdriver here. Screwdriver is very important because when you have a gun like a revolver or a rifle, like a lever action rifle that has screws on the frame, when you shoot a gun with screws on it, the screws will loosen over time due to the recoil. So you want to make sure every time you're cleaning your gun that you want to check for screws and make sure you're tightening those screws, okay? Okay, so we go into the segment assuming you already know how to disassemble your handgun and get it to this point, okay? So every semi-automatic handgun are going to have these four features. They're going to have the slide, they're going to have the frame, they're going to have the barrel, and they're going to have the recoil spring. Now, some handguns, there's exceptions to that. Some handguns have the spring in the grip, and some handguns have the barrel attached to the slide, okay? But regardless, this cleaning method is pretty much going to be the same for every one of them, okay? So the first thing you're going to do when you get it to this point is you're going to want to spray down your firearm with your solvent, okay? I got my ballistol here, so I'm going to give it a quick spray. Not that much, just a little bit. I'm going to spray the frame, we're going to spray the spring on both sides, we're going to spray the barrel. Down into the barrel. Okay? So now we're going to let this ballistol sit and work its magic for a few minutes, so we'll be back. Alright, so we've let the ballistol work its magic for a little bit. So the first thing we want to do is you want to pick up your slide, and you want to clean out all that old ballistol there, all that old solvent. Now this gun isn't really dirty because I've already cleaned it long ago, but figured I would just show you the full process. And you would clean out all that old ballistol, come here onto the frame, and you would do the same. Wherever you sprayed, you want to just clean out and clean off all that excess. Okay. Do the same to the spring. That piece comes out, you can wipe it down and put it back. Certain handguns are going to be different, so, you know, just clean yours accordingly. So the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take your Q-tips and you're going to want to clean out all the cracks and crevices on your slide. Semi-automatics have a lot of them. They have a lot of different cuts, different cracks, different crevices, different scallop cuts, depending on the handgun. So you just want to make sure you get in every little nook and cranny, depending on the handgun. It doesn't matter what kind of handgun it is, you want to make sure every single part is clean. Doesn't even matter if it's a handgun, any firearm, you want to make sure the entirety of the gun is squeaky clean. And you want to do the same to the frame. Any nook and crannies, you want to make sure they're clean. That's what the Q-tips are for. Okay, so now that we've got the slide and the frame clean, next thing we want to get is the barrel. You want to take your spiral brush, 9mm, 40, 45, whatever you got. This is a 40. And you want to run it through. And scrape off all that excess carbon, lead, whatever might be in there. There shouldn't be any lead in here because I'm using jacketed bullets, but depending on the caliber that you're using if you're shooting. Okay. So now you want to take your patches, and you see I got my patch holder here on my bore stick, so you want to run it through like that, okay? You take your barrel, and you run the patch through like this. And if my gun was dirty, this would be... Okay, so now that we've got the slide and the frame clean, next thing we want to get is the barrel. You want to take your spiral brush, 9mm, 40, 45, whatever you got. This is a 40. And you want to run it through. And scrape off all that excess carbon, lead, whatever might be in there. There shouldn't be any lead in here because I'm using jacketed bullets, but depending on the caliber that you're using if you're shooting. Okay. So now you want to take your patches, and you see I got my patch holder here on my bore stick, so you want to run it through like that, okay? You take your barrel, and you run the patch through like this. And if my gun was dirty, this would be all black. But since it's clean, there's nothing to pick up. But that's what you would do. Okay, so now that we got a fully clean handgun, we want to make sure we lubricate it before we put it back together. So what I do is I put 4 dots of oil here on the slide, and the slide cuts here on each side. So 2 on each side. Put 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, and 1 here, okay? That should be enough for the slide, but I always put a little dot of oil on my finger and grease the barrel too, as well as the spring. Doesn't take much, okay? You can put a little bit of oil here on your hammer spring, but I really wouldn't worry about it too much. This should be fine for whatever semi-automatic handgun you have. So, cleaning a revolver is slightly different obviously, than cleaning a semi-automatic handgun, but it follows the same exact principle, okay? So the first thing we do is we spray it down with our gun solvent. Ballistol here, where you can use your choice of gun solvent. You want to spray down the cylinder, front and back. Make sure we get into each chamber. Okay? Want to spray down the barrel, down the muzzle end of the barrel, and we want to make sure we spray every inch of that receiver, because it can get dirty. Alright? So now, as with anything we treat with Ballistol, we're going to let it sit for a few minutes, so I'll see you then. Alright, so first things first, we want to make sure we clean off all that excess solvent with the paper towel here. Now once we're done with that, we want to make sure we take a brush, a spiral brush, and clean out each one of these cylinders. Because when you shoot in a revolver, okay, the ammunition creates a carbon ring. And if you don't clean the carbon ring off, the shells, the empties, can stick when you're trying to eject them. You don't want that, especially in a self-defense situation. Now once you have each cylinder cleaned, you want to take your patch holder and a patch, and you want to run a patch down each cylinder. Again, my gun's clean right now. I'm just showing you for the sake of showing you. If it was dirty, this would be coming out black. Really black. Okay? Now, if this was dirty and it wasn't cleaned already, this would be pretty black and stained with carbon. So what I do is I always take a copper brush and I scrub the daisies out of that. I scrub it until the carbon comes off and I see stainless steel. If you don't scrub it hard enough, you know, it's going to stay stained and it's not going to look pretty. So you want to make sure all that carbon's off of the steel. Same thing goes with any part of the receiver here that's going to... Same thing goes with any part of the receiver here that's going to be getting caked with black carbon. Just take a look. It's easier with a stainless steel revolver to see the dirt, but just take a look. Wherever it looks dirty, scrub it down. Especially up here where there's this little gap in between the frame and the barrel. You want to make sure you really get into that crack, that crevice, and clean it out. So the next thing we want to do is we want to take care of this barrel. I'm going to show you how the bore snake works here. So what you want to do is you want to run your lace through your barrel here. Okay. Grab onto it through the muzzle end. Hold on to your grip now. And as you pull it through, those copper brushes are going to clean out any of the debris, and the long rope here, since it's so tight to the barrel, is going to leave it sparkling, squeaky clean. Perfect. So we don't quite have a fully cleaned revolver here. We want to make sure we don't miss the ejector rod here. We want to make sure we clean the inside of the ejector rod and the crane here. We don't want to leave any spot dirty. Give it the old white glove treatment. And it's good. So when it comes to lubricating a revolver, there are 3 key points you want to hit. Okay? First point being the ejector rod, which is also what the cylinder spins on. So you want to put a little dot of oil there and work it in. Okay? Second spot, you want to hit this little hump here where the trigger actuates the cylinder. So you want to put a little dot there. Okay? Now, third spot, which isn't the most important spot, but every now and then I'd put just a tiny drop of oil there on the hammer spring. Okay? Now that will make sure everything works like clockwork and functions properly. So you shouldn't have any problems after you clean your revolver and you lubricate it just like that. It's important to understand how much oil your handgun's going to need when you go to lubricate it, okay? The bigger the handgun, the more oil it's going to need, okay? A Ruger LCP is going to need a considerably less amount of grease than a Desert Eagle, okay? But the way I see it, the more lube, the better. It's not good to under-grease your gun, but it's not the end of the world to over-grease your gun, okay? So that's what I would say on that topic. Just make sure you're putting a good amount of grease in so that it functions properly and you shouldn't have any problems. Well, that's it for this video. Thanks so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.